When I met Cody, Christine, Mary, and Janelle, they had already decided to do this television show.
Whoa.
I remember Cody saying to me, you know, we're doing this television show and we're going to go public. And I thought he was like kind of
bragging,
or like he was full of it. He was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be on a television show.
I'm a TV star.
We got divorced, and it was only 7 months later that I actually met Cody and Mary, and they started pursuing a relationship with me.
Hey friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. Robyn Brown's ex-husband's cousin is calling her out somewhere on YouTube. And a screenshot of what this cousin said was shared on Reddit and then posted on an article online. I was able to grab a copy of the now deleted screenshot from the article, but it was originally posted on Reddit. And then I found another post on Reddit where they posted the same thing. I don't know whose channel this comment was posted on. It looks like it might have been on one of my videos, although I could not find the comment itself. However, I was able to clarify and verify that this person really is Preston's cousin, and I was able to verify some of the claims here. So it's pretty wild because I was told a story about what happened, but this cousin has more to say about the financial destruction that Robyn caused in the previous family, her husband, Preston Jessop, and what happened with all of those credit cards she took out. And this should be important to share because she's spending right now out of control. She's been accused in the family of pilfering the family bank account, which is now closed. And there's a possibility here that Robyn could have been filing documents. Who knows? I mean, she's has a history now, apparently, of forging records to get credit lines. So the cousin's name appears to be Heidi Natal. And what I did this afternoon is I took a screenshot of the screenshot, and then I shared it with another verified cousin that I know of Preston, someone that I've been communicating with for literally years. And I said, is this one of your cousins? And they said, yes. They also said that this woman, Heidi, is close to Preston's mom. And so she very well could be privy to details that people don't know. You know, I've spoken to you guys about how his niece was there when Robyn was found to have all of these receipts and these credit card bills that were due. And she was hiding clothing in this shed in the back of the house and then taking stuff out of the house. And then the niece said that Robyn was paying for babysitting of her kids by the niece's older sisters, so older nieces of Preston's, to take care of the kids while she was shopping. And that's how the family started to figure out that she might have a problem. And then when the niece walked in, she said that Robyn was looking at all of these bills. She was crying. And that's kind of when everything sort of hit the fan. And this was also around the same time that everyone in Pinesdale was hearing about the Sister Wives getting a show. And the niece had mentioned that Robyn was at that time very motivated about being famous and getting on reality television. And that after she got caught stealing this money from Preston and taking out these credit cards without his knowledge, she left. And then he was forced to file for a divorce because she took off. And he tried to block her from leaving the state with the kids and eventually gave in under the promise that they would have this out-of-state visitation agreement. And then the divorce happened. And on the show, Robyn said that she agreed to take on the debt as a peacemaker, but that's not what happened at all. It was she had to take on the debt. So giving you that backstory to share with you what the cousin wrote. As Preston Jessop's full first cousin, I cannot stay silent. The reason Preston refused to let his children say they wanted Cody to adopt them has to do with the same reason Robyn forced them to call Cody daddy. Robyn literally made her children do things her way or else. That is what caused them anxiety. Every time Preston was allowed, which was hardly ever, to talk to any of his children, he could hear Robyn in the background whispering in their ear. They would parrot what she was telling them. Preston would not allow anything to go forward with the adoption until he had a private meeting with each of his children, a meeting where he could declare his love for them, that he wanted their happiness. Part of the agreement with Cody and Robyn had to do with visitation, that the kids would be allowed to see or talk to Preston whenever they chose. As far as child support goes, Robyn forged Preston's name on credit applications when she ruined her credit, her $30,000 debt, so that when she left after Preston filed for divorce, it left him and his construction company in ruins. His father and brothers came together and helped him with part of that horrendous debt, but it left Preston in a deep depression that he nearly didn't recover from. I'm so glad the story is out and that my sweet, gentle cousin can hopefully have his life back and move on. Robyn ruins lives and families. So she's stating that Robyn forged Preston's name to get credit and to get credit card. And part of that included using his construction company to get credit lines. And the difference between what I was told and what this cousin is saying is that I was told they bailed out Robyn. They tried to bail out Robyn, but then Robyn took the money and ran. This one is saying his father came together and helped with part of it, but it left him in a deep depression and he nearly didn't recover from it. I asked the cousin that I speak to regularly if this is what they recalled, and they didn't remember all of this, but they did say that Heidi is close to Preston's mom, and so she wouldn't be surprised if this is true or not. It does match what Preston's friend told me a couple years ago. So one of his friends that Preston was working for after Robyn left. So he had a construction company and basically had to like close his company because of her, because of what she did to the company. And so he was working for his friend who I spoke to, and he was working constantly because he was so ruined financially, and that he had the way the friend explained it to me was that he didn't have any money to send to Robyn because she left him with so much debt that he owed his family. And so he had to pay back his family who bailed them out, but she took some of that money of the bailout and ran. And so he was constantly working, working, working. And then he decided at that time to also go back to school because he was like, well, this is screwed. Let me at least try to do something better with my life. So he's going to school. He was working full time, working multiple jobs, barely making ends meet, and sending whatever he could to Robyn. And then on the show, Robyn was saying that he didn't want to see the kids, but the friend had told me that Robyn was making it really difficult for them to communicate, and that anytime he would contact, she would say that they were filming. And then the friend said that filming was a huge issue for Preston, and because he didn't want his kids on the show, and that wasn't going to work for Robyn and Cody. They were going to use the kids and have them on the show regardless of what Preston wanted. And the friend believed and felt that this adoption was a byproduct of the ATV accident, because around the same time Dayton got into an ATV accident that Cody caused by his negligence. And Preston wanted to know what happened, and Robyn and Cody wouldn't let him know, and they wouldn't allow Dayton to tell his dad what happened. And Preston and Cody were disagreeing about it because Preston believed that if it happened on his friend's property, that they should be able to file a lawsuit against the friend, or have the insurance, the homeowner's insurance cover it, or that Cody should cover it because Cody caused the accident by not properly supervising Dayton. And that blew up. So the one part I didn't know was that Robyn was forging his name. What I assumed was that she was using both of their names and getting credit cards because she had like 8 or 9 credit cards. And I know there's this whole joke about the Victoria's Secret, but the Victoria's Secret debt in comparison to what they sold clothes at that time and she was buying clothes there, was smaller in comparison to the other credit cards that she had. So I think the credit card for Victoria's Secret was like $1,300 that the balance was. But she had credit cards with like Chase and banks that were like $8,000 and $9,000 outstanding. So the Victoria's Secret one was the smaller one of all of them. But she also had ones with like Sears and I think Home Depot. There was a ton. And she walked away with all of it. And then he walked away with like the car loan and whatever other debt that he had in his name, but it wasn't listed on the divorce decree. So I figured she was just applying for stuff like for both of them. I didn't realize that she was forging his name. I had no clue that his name was forged, but I suppose that would make sense because if he didn't know that these credit cards had been taken out and they were in both her and his name, she would have had to have forged the records because she didn't have an income to qualify to get these cards. She wasn't working. And when you take out a credit card, they pull your credit and they also ask you for like your work history so they know like what your income is so they can give you like a limit. So she was apparently using his income and his social security number in order to get these credit cards and doing it behind his back. This makes me concerned for the family because who knows what she could have taken out in other people's names without their knowledge at this time. Because Cody and Robyn have access to every single person's social security number in the family, date of birth, and their income and tax records. And if Robyn has a spending problem, she still has access to that because one of Janelle's friends told me that Janelle had files, like a file for each family member that included all of their like identification information, social security numbers, medical records, everything like income, all of it, so that when they did their bills and taxes, it was all filed and organized. So if Robyn was willing to use other people's names and credit, that concerns me for members of this family. They might want to check their own credit. Just saying, Janelle. The cousin also said to me, told me this in a message. Either way, she's responsible for a lot of damage caused by her selfishness. She's never made things right, and it seems like she carried the same attitudes and habits into the rest of her life. She's tried really hard to make Preston look bad so that she can be the victim, but she's never acknowledged the brokenness that she caused. So, one of the things that she likes to claim is that, there was verbal abuse and like physical abuse between her and Preston. And I said, yeah, I was wondering about that. She trashed him on the show, called him abusive, but his niece said that never happened. She actually saw Robyn hit Preston. And the cousin said he was pretty broken after she left. I imagine he probably yelled and reacted poorly in his desperation, but he says that he never pushed or hit her. And then she said, and women hitting men in the group, it's not seen as abuse. It's actually seen as rebelliousness. And she might be seen as possessed or crazy, but it's a man's job to keep his family in control. Men aren't allowed to physically harm their wives, but no man ever reports their wives physically harming them, even though it happens more often than you would think. So, from the cousin's perspective, it's that Robyn blames Preston for like Preston being pushed to the edge and being left completely broke and his life in complete shambles and depressed. And, there's times where he's contemplating ending his own life, I guess. And when they have interactions and she's pushing and pushing and pushing, and then he actually reacts and yells back, like she's acting like that's abusive. So his reaction to her abuse, reactive abuse or whatever, is Robyn. So she's goading him. And so what the cousin is saying is like a lot of his behavior is a byproduct of being pushed to the limit by her and then not being allowed to see the kids having the kids held over him and then being bullied through the show and through Cody and Robyn into giving up his rights, and then Robyn never allowing them to really talk about it. And so the conversation that she mentioned here, and Heidi mentioned, where she said that, or Preston could hear Robyn talking in the kids' ears and the kids were parroting. That's exactly what his niece told me, that nobody could get through to the kids. And the cousin that I've talked to today said the exact same thing. Like, they were basically brainwashed by Robyn. She was telling them things about Preston that weren't true when he wasn't around. And then they were told it so much that they believed their mom, because why would their mom lie to them? Preston's never said that he was perfect. That's what both the cousin and the niece said to me. Yes, there was disagreements. Yes, it got bad towards the end, but it wasn't abusive. And he's never been abusive with his current wife. He has 4 kids with her. There was a arrest at one point years later of him, but those charges were dropped and he wasn't charged with anything. It was for assault, I think, but he didn't assault anyone. That's why the charges were dropped. So there was like this mugshot going around about him, but nothing actually happened with that. So it's Robyn who's pushing people to their limit and then not taking accountability for it. So she goes on the show and accuses everyone, Christine and Janelle and Mary and whoever, of being the problem. And, she doesn't get what she wants. And she acts like she's very selfish, right? And that's what this cousin is saying, is like her selfishness and her lack of accountability and her lack of reflection to look into her own self is what's causing so much hurt across the board. And this cousin agrees that, like, she did ruin Preston and she destroyed the family because she took the kids, and now there's a whole family in Montana that want a relationship with the kids, but she won't allow it, and that she's poisoned the kids against. And so they can't get through. It's kind of like what Cody and Robyn have done with Aurora, Brianna, Dayton, Saul, and Ari when it comes to the Brown siblings, poisoning them. So she alienates and tells stories and lies. And the cousin told me that they are confident she's doing this because they don't want, like, if she can paint them as bad, they'll never go to them and actually talk to them and see what the truth is, because they think if the kids actually found out that Preston was fighting for them to not get adopted and that Preston was actually left destitute and he wasn't abused, because the kids were super little. They don't have memories of this, and they all loved him really so much until Robyn started putting ideas in their heads. Long story short, if she has a history of forging people's names, I mean, who's to say that Cody and Robyn didn't forge documents for Coyote Pass? Who's to say they didn't forge people's names on loan applications? Who's to say they didn't forge names in order to take money out of people's accounts? You know, I would be so leery of her. I mean, if I were them, I'd all run your credit report, check it, make sure there's nothing on your name. If there is something you don't know about it, close it. Someone doesn't do this to one family and then stop, because she's still doing it. She's ruining the family. She has no remorse. She hasn't changed. And yes, nobody is saying that Cody is perfect, right? Like, the cousins that I speak to knows Cody, right? Personally. Grew up with Mary, was friends with Mary when as kids. Didn't know Cody and Mary married, but knows them and knows the hell that Cody put Mary through, and knows how abused Mary was as a child and how naive Mary was, and just like how these women were almost like a sitting duck for Robyn to be manipulated and exploited, because she had obviously more world experience than they did to a degree. It's ugly. Cody is a problem, but he married like the devil, basically. Who does that? Who freaking does that? Forgery? How has this woman never been arrested? It blows my mind. That makes me wonder if they're moving around so much too because of running away from people. You know what I mean? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed. Click the bell to never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys.